G'day lads, watch this video to learn how to simulate an entire EPL football season and then analyze the results using Excel. If you want to download this model, click the first link in the description below to go to the Excel Lads Patreon page, where by joining you'll get exclusive access to every single Excel Lads model along with my Discord community. I'll be publishing my Spanish, Italian, French and German league models on the Patreon, so make sure you join and become a lad. The first step, lads, is to grab the previous season's table, so starting in column A with the rank, going across to the right, club, matches played, wins, draws, losses, goals for, goals against, goal difference, and then points. Now go to cell A23 where you're going to write the text average, and then along this row we're going to compute some averages. In G23, we're going to find the average goals scored by a team throughout the season. So that's equals average, open bracket, G3 to G22. Drag that across and it should be the same value of 54.2 if you're doing the 2022 EPL season. Now in cell B23, I'm finding the average goals scored per game. That's going to be the sum of G3 to G22, or the goals scored by a team in the season, divided by the sum of the range C3 to C22, which is the matches played by a team in the season. So 1.42 is our figure. Go up to the top left-hand box over here. We're going to name this range average underscore goals so we can refer to it later on in our calculations. Now that we've done that, create a new worksheet and title it Team Strength. Here we're going to work out the attacking and defending strength of every team in the EPL competition. So in A1, type in the text club, and then in A2 equals, go back into the EPL table worksheet and select the range B3 to B19. We're excluding Leicester, Leeds and Southampton because they were relegated. Now that we've done that, in B1 type in the text attack rating. So ATT rating. Here we're going to find the attacking strength of Man City through to Everton. And this formula is going to be equals bracket, go into the EPL table worksheet. It's going to be Man City's goals for in G3 divided by Man City's matches played in C3. Then close the bracket and press enter. We're not actually done with the formula yet. You'll see Man City's rating of 2.47 is how many goals they score per game. Divide that by average underscore goals, the average goals scored in a game. Press enter. And Manchester City's rating is 1.73, meaning their attack is 1.73 times better than the average team in the league. Drag that down all the way to the last value in B18 for Everton. Put it to 2 decimal points. And basically what this all means is go over to the Wolves. They have the worst attack rating, meaning they only score 0.57 goals for every 1 goal scored by the average team. And they have the least amount of goals scored in the 2022-23 season with 31 compared to Manchester City's highest. Now in C1, create the defending rating or DEF rating header. It's going to be much the same formula, equals open bracket, goals against for Man City in H3 divided by matches played in C3 divided by average underscore goals. Make sure you close the bracket after C3. And this time a low rating is good. So Manchester City only concede 0.61 goals for every 1 goal conceded by the league average team. And now we're able to compare teams by their relative attacking and defending strength, with a team like Manchester City being the strongest in the league and Nottingham Forest being one of the weaker teams with an attack rating below 1 and a defending rating above 1. Now the next step is to come up with the 3 teams that were promoted at the start of the 23-24 season, which were Luton, Burnley and Sheffield United. List them from A19 to A21, but we don't know their attack and defense rating because they didn't play in the 2022-23 EPL season. So create a new worksheet called Historical Championship Data. From A1 across to the right, list club, season, championship ATT, representing a championship's team attacking strength, championship DEF, EPL ATT and EPL DEF in column F. Now what this worksheet will do is enable us to translate a championship's team attack and defense rating to an equivalent in the EPL. Now I'll do this manually for you lads. I recommend you copy these numbers yourselves. You can search it up by looking at a team's performance in the championship and then recording their performance in the EPL next year. I'll run through the sheet now. So A2 to A31 is the list of teams, and then in the B column is the year they were promoted. And in column C is their championship attack rating. So it's 106 goals divided by 46 matches, which is then divided by 1,385 goals scored that season divided by the number of matches played. That comes up with Fulham's attack rating that season. And then Bournemouth's attack rating is lower because they only scored 74 goals in that championship season in 2021. It's much the same for the defensive ratings. Then to calculate the EPL attack and defense ratings, I've taken either their results from last season's EPL season or the seasons before that. Now for Luton and Burnley and Sheffield United also, we only have their championship attack and defense ratings. But using the data above, we're able to come up with EPL attack and defense ratings, so we're able to compare them with the other 17 teams. We can do this in E33, finding Luton's attack rating using the equals trend function. Open bracket, the known Y's, the Y variables are the EPL attack rating. This is our end goal. And to predict this, we need known X's. And that's going to be the C column, C2 to C31. That's our observable data we've collected in the last 10 years. And our new X's are C33 to C35, the championship attack ratings from Luton to Burnley to Sheffield United. And it's come up with equivalent ratings. So Burnley have the highest expected attack rating in the EPL because they've got the highest championship attack rating out of all three of the teams. To come up with equivalent defense ratings, equals trend, open bracket, the known Y's are F2 to F31, the EPL defense ratings. The known X's are D2 to D31, the championship defense ratings. And the new X's are obviously the newly promoted teams in D3, 33 to 35, and their defensive ratings. The defensive ratings are much closer together. There's a picture on the right of your screen right now coming up. This is because the defensive rating is much harder to predict and has a weaker pattern than the attack rating. Copy and paste these cells into B19, paste special. Make sure you only paste the values because if you paste the formulas, it'll come up with an error. And once you've done that, lads, we've been able to calculate the raw attack and defense ratings for every single team in the Premier League competition. However, we've still got work to go. So from B1 to C21, select the cells and then move it across to columns F and G. And then for column headers in B1 and C1, write the text reverted ATT and then 25%. Then in C1, reverted DEF 25%. And what we're going to do is revert a team's attack rating 25% towards the mean. This is to account for uncertainty at the start of the season, such as roster changes and or injuries. So we're going to do that with a nice and easy formula starting in B2 for Manchester City. It's going to be equals 1 plus open bracket again, F2, Man City's raw attack rating minus 1, close bracket, multiplied by 0.75, which is 1 minus 25%. Close the bracket, press enter, and the reverted attack rating for Manchester City is 1.55, and 0.55 is 75% of 0.73. So it reduces Manchester City's attack and defending strength relative to the average team. But at the same time, when you consider a team below the average with attack and defense ratings, this reversion will increase their strength relative to the average team. Now, lads, we're going to name some ranges. So from A2 to A21, go up to the top left-hand box here, name this teams, the list of teams. From B2 to B21, name this range ATT, representing attack ratings. And then from C2 to C21, name this range DEF, representing defensive ratings. Press enter, and then once you've done that, go down, create a new worksheet and title it Fixtures, where we're going to have every single game to be played in the Premier League season. Now, there's a link in the description below where you can copy and paste this into your Excel file, just like this. So we don't really need columns A to D. All we need is E and H, the home team and the away team, as well as columns F and G representing space to be simulating the home score and away score. To simulate the home score for Burnley against Manchester City, equals binom.inv function, open bracket, 10,000 trials, probability S, open bracket, X lookup, open bracket. Our lookup value is obviously Burnley, comma, we're looking Burnley up in the list of teams, comma, and then we're returning their ATT rating. Close bracket, multiply this by another X lookup function, open bracket. Our lookup value this time is H2. which is the away team, in this case Manchester City, comma, we're looking them up in teams, comma, returning their defensive rating. Close the bracket, multiply this by average underscore goals, that 1.4 figure. Close the bracket, divide by 10,000 trials, comma, RAND function, RAND, open bracket, close bracket again. And for this simulation, Burnley have scored 3 against Man City. Press backspace 0, 1, 0, 0, 0. You can simulate this all you want. Autofill this down to the last game of the season. If we go down, we can check it out. Sheffield United scored 1 goal against Spurs. And then now we're going to write the same formula, but adjusting it for the away team in the match. So equals binom.inv, binomial inverse function, open bracket, same thing, 10,000 trials always. The probability S is open bracket, X lookup, same thing as before. We're looking up the away team this time, H2. We're finding Manchester City in the list of teams and we're returning their attack rating. Close bracket, this time we're multiplying by Burnley's defense rating. So X lookup, open bracket, lookup value is Burnley in E2, lookup array teams, and then return array DEF, or the defensive rating. Close bracket, multiply by average underscore goals. Close bracket, divide by 10,000, the number of trials, comma, and the alpha criteria will be the RAND function again, so RAND, open bracket, close bracket. Press enter, and in this simulation, Man City drew with Burnley 2-2. In this one, they won 1-0, and we can keep pressing backspace on another cell to update or refresh these simulations. Go ahead and create a new worksheet named table. This is where we're going to compile all these results and create a league table. So from A1 to the right, we're going to list club, matches played, wins, draws, losses, goals for, goals against, goal difference, and points. Now in cell A2 equals teams, that'll spill the list of teams. And before we find the formula for B2, we're going to go back into the fixtures worksheet and name some ranges. Our first range to be named is the home team. So from cell E2 all the way down to E381 in this worksheet, I'm going to name this home underscore team, enter. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the away team. So H2 all the way down to H381, away underscore teams, or away underscore team rather. And for the home simulated scores, in column F, home underscore score, and in column G, G2 to G381, away underscore score. This makes it way easier to refer to these ranges in the formulas we're going to be doing in the table worksheet. So to find the matches Manchester City have played, we're going to be using the sum product function, equals sum product, two open brackets, home underscore team. So our first criteria is the home team has to be equal to A2, Manchester City, close bracket, plus, open bracket again, next criteria, the away team has to be equal to A2. So this function is basically saying if Manchester City is the home team or the away team, then count that game as being played by Manchester City. And then we get 38 games, which is absolutely correct. Now for the wins, we're going to use the sum product function again, equals sum product, open the bracket again. So our first criteria is that the home team has to be equal to Manchester City. So close the bracket, and we're doing this times, which is the AND operator. So and the home score has to be greater than the away score. Home underscore score greater than symbol, away underscore score. Close the bracket. So this means the home team has to be Man City, and for the win to be recorded, their home score has to be greater than the away score. Okay, put this all in brackets. So create two new brackets, plus bracket. The away team has to be equal to Manchester City in A2, close bracket, multiplied by, open bracket, the away score has to be greater than the away score, than the home score rather. So when the away team is Manchester City, for a win to be recorded, the away score has to be greater than the home score. Close the bracket 3 times, press enter. And in this season, simulated, Manchester City have won 27 times. If I backspace, run another simulation, 24, 23, 21, this time even 19, back up to 23. So this is the nature of the simulations. It always changes based on Manchester City's attack and defense rating. Now, before we do the draws and losses column, go back into the C2 cell and just absolute reference the A column. So a $ in front of the A, press enter, drag that down again. And so now we're able to drag these cells across and it'll keep referencing the A column or the teams. So to change the wins to draws, simply change the greater than to equal than. We're finding how many times the home score is equal to the away score and vice versa. So Manchester City have 6 draws in this simulation. For the losses, it's just going to be when the home score is less than the away score when Man City play at home, and when they play away, the away score has to be less than the home score. We can double check these formulas are right by selecting cells C2 to E2, making sure they sum to 38, and doing the same thing for row 21. It must sum to 38. Every single team must have played 38 games, and 38 has to be made up of the wins, draws, and losses. Now to find the goals for figure in column F, change the home score is less than the away score criteria to just the home score. So when Man City play at home, we're summing their home score. And the same thing for when they play away, we're only summing the away score. So get rid of the less than the home score there. Press enter. In this simulation, they've scored 69 goals. And in this next one, they've scored 74. Drag across to cell G2. When they play at home, we want to sum the away score. And when they play away, we want to sum the home score. This will give the amount of goals conceded by Manchester City throughout the course of the season. In this simulation, it was 43. Drag that down. For the next simulation, they had 37 goals scored against them. Now for the goal differential, that's obviously their goals scored minus their goals against. So we're going to change this criteria to home score minus away score when Manchester City play at home. And when they play away, the goal difference is obviously going to be the away score or their score minus the home score, which is their opposition score. Press enter and we can manually confirm 84 minus 44 is 40, so that formula is correct. Drag down to cell H21, and this H2 to H21 range should always sum to 0. Now for the number of points in I2, it's going to be equals 3 times the number of wins in C2 plus the number of draws in D2. Man City scored 71 points in this season. Drag to Sheffield United, and we have our single season simulated table. Select this whole range and drag down to cell A29. We're going to create a new table in cell A1 where we're going to be able to sort teams by their points, their goal difference, then their goals scored. So in cell A1, type the text position, then list the numbers 1 through to 20. You can use the sequence function here. I'm just going to drag 1 through to 20 down. Select cells A29 to I29, copy and paste it into cell B1. And then in B2, we're going to use the sort function. So equals SORT, sort. Our array is the range A30 to I49. Our sort index, so it's comma. We're going to do the curly whirly brackets. Curly brackets, the 9th column, we're sorting by the points first. Then we're sorting by a team's goal difference. Then we're sorting by a team's goals for in column 6. So columns 9, 8, 6. The sort order is -1. We're sorting in descending order. Close bracket, press enter. And then now it's ordered our teams in terms of points, then goals difference, then goals for. So Arsenal and Man City are tied on points, but because we've done this sort function, Arsenal get the win for the season because they have a greater goal difference. And so here Arsenal have won again, 1 point over Newcastle. And then by pressing backspace on another cell, we can continually refresh the simulations. Everton have come last in this one. Now I'm going to format this table a bit. So select all borders for the range. I'm going to color the headers in a shade of light gray. Then for row 2, the winner, Arsenal, painting gold. The relegated teams I'm going to highlight in a light shade of red. Positions 2, 3, and 4 making the Champions League, I'll highlight in a light shade of green. Then orange for the Europa League, and then for rows 8 through to 18 or positions 7 through to 17 blue. And then I can do these simulations one by one. Now I want to be able to run this season 1,000 times so I'm able to analyze the data. So create a new worksheet, title it simulations, and then in cell B1 equals transpose function, open bracket teams, close bracket, enter. This is going to spill the list of teams horizontally from Man City in column B to Sheffield United in column U. And in this worksheet, we're going to run 1,000 simulations of a team's position in the league. In cell A2, write the header trials. And then below it, list numbers 1 through to 1,000. I'm going to quickly do it using the sequence function. Open bracket 1,000, close bracket. Enter, and numbers 1 through to 1,000 spill below. In cell B2, I want to find the position of Manchester City in the single season simulation. I can do that by going equals X lookup. My lookup value is obviously Manchester City in cell B1. Absolute reference only the row because I'm going to be dragging this across. So $ in front of the 1, comma. My lookup array is in the table worksheet, and that's range B2 to B21, absolute reference this whole thing, so $ in front of both the column and row, comma, and the return array is the position of Manchester City in the simulation. Absolute reference this, close bracket, press enter, and we get a value of 1, meaning in this simulation Manchester City must have come first, which they did. Go back into the simulations tab and drag this across to our last team in Sheffield United in column U. Now looking at the data in this next simulation, Everton came 20th, and we can manually confirm that. Yes, they did, so our formula is correct. Now we're going to run these simulations, so select cells A2 to U1002, go into the data tab, hit what if analysis, and then select data table. Forget about the row input cell. For the column input cell, select a cell outside of the data, so for example Z3, press OK, and then your simulation should come up. Now your worksheet may lag a little bit. Don't worry, this is because Excel's doing so many calculations. There's 380 games in one season, and we're doing 1,000 simulations, so that means 380,000 games are being simulated by Excel in the range A2 to U1002. If you drag down, you can see all the different simulations. Aston Villa might come 9th one year, and then 5th the next, So create a new worksheet, title it Analysis, and here we're going to summarize our data, make it nice and neat, and find a team's percentage chance of finishing 1st through to 20th. In cell A1, type in the header team, and then from A2 equals teams, that's going to spill all our teams down from Man City to Sheffield United. In B1, equals sequence, open bracket 1, 20, that's going to spill numbers 1 through to 20 horizontally. You can type that out if you don't have access to the sequence function. And then in cell B2, I want to find Manchester City's probability of finishing 1st. That function is going to be equals count if, open bracket. Our range is an index function, open bracket. Our array is going to be in simulations, and that's cell B3 to all the way into the U column. Instead of doing U1002 though, which is our current data set, I'm going to say U100,000, so that if we decided to include any more simulations later on down the track, say we want to make that model a bit more accurate, we'll be able to do that. Comma 0 for the row number. For the column number, it's going to be comma match function. Open bracket, our lookup value is going to be Man City in cell A2. Absolute reference the column only, so $A2. The lookup array is going to be back in simulations, and that's going to be B1 through to U1. So B1 to U1 is the range. Because I'm on Excel's newest version, it's B1 hash, absolute reference that. And for the match type, it's going to be 0. Close the bracket twice. The criteria for the count if function is going to be the position, because I want to count how many times Manchester City finishes 1st, and then when I drag it across all the way through to 20th. So only absolute reference the row 1, divide by 1,000 trials, hit enter, and Manchester City finish 1st 649 times out of 1,000, or 0.649 as a decimal. Drag that down for Sheffield, and then drag all these values across, so we get every single team's percentage chance of finishing 1 through to 20th. Convert this to a percentage, and then to make it visually appealing or aesthetic, go into conditional formatting, select color scales, and then we get this nice heat map here, so we can see Manchester City are the clear favourites for the title. Select cells A1 to U21, and now I'm just formatting it. All our data's done. I'm going to add all borders and gray shades or gray highlighter to A1 to A21 and A1 to U1. Color that in gray too. Thanks for watching, lads. A reminder to click the link in the description if you want to be able to download this model as well as the simulations for every other major European league.